tragic flood of 1950 changed the Red River into a lake south of Winnipeg, a lake 75 miles long and 20 miles wide. The river rose to an elevation of 30.3 feet in Winnipeg, 12.3 feet above first flood stage. It flooded 10,500 homes in the city in spite of heroic efforts by thousands of volunteer dikers. The river stayed in flood for 51 days, and damage was in the tens of millions of dollars. In 1965 and 1966 were near flood years as far as the city of Winnipeg was concerned. Only luck in the weather and emergency diking prevented serious flooding. The river rose to 26.3 feet on April 15, 1966, and communities to the south of Winnipeg were flooded once again. After the 1950 flood, the Red River Basin Investigation Committee looked at measures to reduce the flood hazard in the Red River Valley. From this came a Royal Commission on Flood Cost Benefit. This commission recommended a three-phase flood control program. First, a storage reservoir on the Assiniboine in the Shellmouth area of western Manitoba River to Lake Manitoba near Portage la Prairie, and a 60,000 cubic feet per second floodway around Winnipeg. On October 6, 1962, after agreements were completed and engineering plans studied and developed, south of Winnipeg, a powerful bulldozer gouged the first few yards of the 100 million that eventually were to be excavated. The official start was made on the Red River Floodway, one of the biggest excavation projects in Canadian history. The Shellmouth Dam provides a reservoir for flood control on the Assiniboine, particularly in the Brandon area and along low-lying portions of the river from Shellmouth to Portage la Prairie. This has been a joint PFRA provincial project. Work on the outlet conduit and earth-fill dam has now been completed.
Line up. Lines up.
The Portage Diversion, another joint PFRA provincial project, starts west of Portage la Prairie and runs north to Lake Manitoba. The lake serves as a storage reservoir for water from the diversion, providing flood protection to Portage as well as sections of the river below the city. The Floodway test excavation was sponsored by the province and the Manitoba Road Builders Association to find out necessary soil information. From this test site, it was found that slopes on the flood channel itself should be 6-to-1, with 9-to-1 slopes under the bridges. Actually, you could call it a very successful failure when the 1-to-1 slopes fell away in this experiment. Computers were used to find the most economical and stable channel size when matched with soil information. Computers were also used to calculate earthwork quantities, both for initial design and for final quantity payments to contractors. The facilities of the Civil Engineering Department of the University of Manitoba were used for models of the inlet and outlet structures to study various flows in the floodway. Of this testing, the design of the structures were modified to cut down riverbank erosion. As with all major construction jobs like the floodway, land had to be purchased and people had to be moved. The limestone bedrock near the surface provided a solid base for construction of the outlet control works near Lockport. This structure serves to reduce the energy in the water. The concrete rollway stilling basin cuts down erosion when the floodwaters from the outlet pour into the Red River. 16,000 cubic yards of concrete and 630,000 pounds of reinforcing steel are included in this outlet structure. Technically speaking, the Red River floodway is an excavated earth channel to carry floodwaters from the Red River around and to the east of metropolitan Winnipeg back into the Red River near Lockport. The channel is 29 miles long, and the water surface elevation drops a total of 18 feet from the inlet to the outlet under design flood conditions. The base width of the channel varies from 380 to 540 feet, and the top widths at prairie level are from 700 to 1,000 feet. The channel has an average depth of 30 feet, with the deepest cut being in the area of Bird's Hill, where the depth goes to 65 feet. A low-flow channel carries local drainage from the watersheds to the east of the floodway. Various types of equipment were used in the excavation of the Red River floodway. One thing that was found was that rubber-tired vehicles could be used to a substantial depth with tractors and scrapers to remove the rest. No excavation of this size and amount has ever been done on this type of clay down to this depth. Channel sides and disposal areas have been seeded down to a grass-legume mixture. One of the most important phases of the floodway construction was the crossing of utilities, rail and highway bridges, oil, gas, and water pipelines, and hydro and communication facilities. For the most part, bridge piers and abutments were constructed in the wintertime. Contractors tried to erect girders for these bridges in the spring on frost so that final construction of concrete poured bridge decking could be completed in the summer months. A total of 13 rail and highway bridges, 6 hydro transmission lines, 2 pipeline and 2 Winnipeg Water District aqueduct crossings were carried out before the Red River Floodway was completed. The crossing of the Greater Winnipeg Water District aqueduct was under Metro supervision. It was a tricky operation. The actual switchover had to be made at a time of low flow demands after Winnipeg reservoirs were full. Temperatures within protected structures were kept at 55 to 60 degrees above, even though winter weather of 30 to 40 below zero was common outside. All concrete, except for the inlet structure, was supplied by ready-mix plants in the city of Winnipeg. The Seine River normally flows into the Red River near the center of the city and has overflowed on many occasions. A 60-inch pipe under the floodway now carries the flow of this river into St. Vital and St. Boniface, while a series of 96-inch pipes carry any floodwaters on this stream into the floodway itself. A lot of preliminary work had to be done in the area of the inlet structure. To begin with, concrete had to be forced into the ground to make a grout curtain before work could start on the floodway inlet structure. This grout curtain reduced groundwater flows into the excavation. Dams were constructed both upstream and downstream, and pumps were installed to de-water the area in between before actual excavating could take place. The inlet control structure in the Red River Channel is a short distance downstream from the actual floodway inlet. The inlet itself is simply a cut into the east bank of the Red River. All flows more than the river will be naturally divided between the floodway and the river. The inlet control structure is built across the Red River to regulate this division. The structure has concrete abutments and a central pier with 2 large submersible-type gates, each 112.5 feet wide. The gates normally are in the submerged position. There's 6 feet of water over the gates in this normal position to allow for boating. In times of flood, the floodway gates are raised and an artificial control divides the water between the floodway and the river. At the design flood, the control gates are raised to maintain natural floodwater levels upstream of the control structure. In other words, 60,000 cubic feet per second will be flowing down the floodway and 80,000 cubic feet per second flowing through the control structure and down the natural Red River channel. This 80,000 cubic feet per second flow is just below the top of the dikes and will pass through the city without causing any flooding. Dikes east and west from the Red River prevent water from entering the city around the inlet structure. On October the 11th, 1968, ceremonies declared the Red River floodway officially open. The floodway is not just a master plan to save a city. Half Manitoba's population lives in Winnipeg, and in this city are the colleges, hospitals, factories, markets, distribution centers that help make this province great. And when you count the cost of flooding, count it in human misery and suffering, in flood fighting and rebuilding, you know why there's a Red River floodway.